My entitled sister's lies destroyed my engagement. Now her marriage is falling apart, and she's blaming me for her own failures. I'm 29, and I'll admit, I've always been the one in my family who tries to keep the peace. I'm the guy everyone goes to when they need a favor, help with something, or just someone to take a side in an argument. And for years, I've done my best to live up to it. I've bent over backward, covered for people, let things go, all to avoid drama. Especially with my sister, Sarah, who's 34. Sarah is the opposite of me in nearly every way. From day one, she was the favorite child, the one who always had everyone wrapped around her finger. She was charming when she wanted to be, selfish when she didn't. Growing up, it was always Sarah first. She'd get what she wanted, and we'd all be expected to fall in line. I think the whole family knew it but brushed it off as Sarah being Sarah. I put up with it. I kept my head down, went through life not expecting much from her, and when I did need her to come through, she'd usually flake or find a way to make it about herself. I told myself that was just the way she was. It worked out okay for years. But then I met Claire, and suddenly Sarah's behavior became more than just a family quirk. Claire and I met a couple of years ago, and for the first time in my life, I actually felt I'd found someone I could see a future with. Claire was warm, genuine, and thoughtful. We balanced each other out. I'm not a romantic type, but with her, everything just seemed to click. We got engaged last year, and for a while, life seemed almost perfect. But Sarah somehow couldn't stand that. I should have seen it coming. Sarah always had a way of throwing herself into the center of anything that wasn't about her. During the engagement party, she gave a toast that looked like it was going to be nice, but then took this weird turn. She raised her glass and said, "I just want to say, congrats to my little brother for finding someone who actually likes him for who he is." Not everyone would, right? It came out with this fake little laugh. Claire and I were standing there, humiliated in front of all our friends, but Sarah just kept talking like nothing was wrong. After that, she went on a mission. In the following weeks, she'd constantly pull Claire aside, filling her head with stories about my so-called player past, saying how I was this heartbreaker who'd left a trail of devastated women. None of it was true. I've been honest with Claire about every past relationship, and we were solid. But Sarah didn't care. She twisted every little thing to sound like I was hiding a whole other life. At first, Claire didn't say anything, but I noticed she'd get this look when we talked about past stuff. We started arguing, something we'd never done before, and I knew something was up. She'd ask me things like, "Are you sure you told me everything?" Or, "Did you ever think about telling me about that other side of you?" She wouldn't say where she was hearing this from, and it made me feel crazy. But then a friend of ours, Rachel, came to me and asked if everything was okay between us. That's when she told me Sarah had been spreading lies to everyone, saying I'd been unfaithful. That's when everything clicked. I confronted Sarah, hoping she'd deny it or say it was a joke gone wrong. But she didn't even try. She just smirked and said, "Well, it's not my fault if Claire can't handle the truth about you." She didn't even care how much damage she'd done. I tried talking to Claire, trying to explain that Sarah was lying, but it didn't matter. The doubt was already there. Claire couldn't shake the feeling that maybe I was hiding things, and no matter how much I reassured her, it wasn't enough. We tried to work through it, but it was like Sarah had poisoned the well. The trust was gone, and eventually Claire ended things. She walked away, saying it wasn't even about what Sarah said, but that she couldn't get rid of the feeling there was more to the story. Losing Claire felt like my whole world was torn apart. She'd been my best friend, the one person who understood me, and Sarah had ripped that away just because she couldn't stand seeing me happy. I cut Sarah off completely. I told her I was done, that she was no longer a part of my life. My parents tried to brush it off like they always did, saying, "You know how Sarah is," but this time, I didn't care. I told them if they couldn't respect my decision, then they were choosing Sarah over me. Looking back, I realized this wasn't new behavior from Sarah. She'd always been pulling stunts to get attention or control, but I just never noticed how bad it really was. For example, every family gathering became about her. She'd interrupt people mid-story, always steering conversations back to herself, her problems, or her latest achievements. She'd even make us write out gratitude lists during Thanksgiving, expecting everyone to put her on theirs. And when we didn't, she'd throw a fit and make the rest of the night miserable. Then there were her business schemes. She always had some noob side hustle and would rope the whole family into helping her. Once, she started this online boutique and kept calling me to help her set up her website and manage her orders. I'd spend hours working on it, and she'd just take it for granted, never saying thank you or even acknowledging the time it took. Eventually, I told her I wasn't her unpaid tech support and that she'd have to figure it out herself. She acted like I'd betrayed her, calling me selfish for not supporting her dreams, or how she'd borrow things and never give them back. She'd take my camera, my tablet, even some expensive kitchen equipment, promising to return it in a week. Sometimes she'd even lend my stuff to her friends, and it would come back scratched or broken. When I finally told her she couldn't borrow anything else until she respected my things, she pouted and complained to our parents, acting like I'd just cut her off for no reason. After Claire and I split, karma hit Sarah hard. Her own marriage started to crumble. Her husband, Ben, was a solid guy, probably too good for her, honestly. But Sarah was a serial cheater. She'd been seeing other people on the side for a while, something everyone seemed to know except Ben. When he finally found out, he cut her off financially, blocked her access to their joint accounts, and moved out. Now Sarah was furious. Suddenly, she needed the family's support. She started calling everyone, acting like Ben was this monster who'd abandoned her. And then, in classic Sarah fashion, she decided to blame me for it. First, she expected me to cut Ben out of my life. I'd grown close to him over the years, and he'd been a good friend to me. But Sarah started pressuring me, saying, "If you're really family, you'd stand by me." I told her flat out that just because she couldn't make her marriage work didn't mean I had to cut off my friend. She exploded, calling me disloyal and heartless, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to turn my back on someone who'd been nothing but decent to me. Next, she started pushing for a loan. With Ben gone, she was strapped for cash, and she figured I'd be an easy target. She said she just needed a little help to get through her divorce and would pay me back when she could. I told her I wasn't in a position to give her any money, and that she'd have to figure it out herself. She tried guilt-tripping me, saying, "After everything I've done for you, you can't even help me?" But I didn't bite. I'd spent enough of my life bending over backward for her, and this time, I wasn't budging. And then, the final straw. She decided to just show up at my door with a suitcase one day. No call, no warning. She was ready to move in, expecting me to house her indefinitely. She said she needed a place to stay, and assumed my place was her backup plan. I looked at her and said, "Sarah, you can't stay here. I'm not your safety net." She tried to argue, but I didn't let her in. After she left, I put up a security camera, just in case she tried to pull something like that again. The fallout from this whole mess was brutal, but it was also eye-opening. Losing Claire was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, but it made me realize just how much I'd let Sarah control my life. I'd let her manipulate me, guilt me, and drag me down for years, all because I thought that's just what you did for family. Now I've set firm boundaries. I've told my parents I won't have anything to do with Sarah until she takes responsibility for her actions. They're still in denial, making excuses for her, but I'm done letting them take her side over mine. I've made it clear that I'm not going to be the scapegoat for Sarah's messes anymore. As for Sarah, she's still blaming me for everything. She thinks I ruined her marriage, ruined her life, and that I owe her something for all the sacrifices she's made for me. But I'm done. I'm not going to let her guilt trip me into cleaning up the mess she's made. Life is different now. I'm focusing on my own growth, trying to heal from the pain Sarah's caused, and figuring out what I want from my future. I don't know if I'll ever get back what I had with Claire, but I've learned a valuable lesson about family and boundaries. No one is allowed to sabotage my happiness or my relationships ever again. If Sarah wants to keep blaming me for her failures, that's on her. But I'm moving forward, and I'm not looking back.